What's good, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Off the Backboard. I am your host, Eloy Thomas, and today we're going to be breaking down the trade between the Toronto Raptors and the New York Knicks, where we see OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, Malachi Flynn head into the Knicks, and we have RJ Barrett going home to the Toronto Raptors alongside Emmanuel Quickley, as well as the 2024 second-round pick from the Detroit Pistons, who, by the way, just snapped their losing streak, so shout out to them. So I know I might be a little bit late to the party when it comes to talking about this trade, but if I'm being 100% honest, I haven't watched a whole lot of minutes for both of these teams this season. I'm not sure if I've caught a full Raptors game. I know that I've watched some minutes here and there from Scotty Barnes. I love watching him play. I've watched a couple of Knicks games this season, so I really wanted to do my research and make sure that I was, doing this trade its due diligence. Just because when I first seen it, I can't lie, I thought that this was a 100% fleece the Raptors way. Now, the reason I say that is because when I first saw this trade, my first thought was you're giving up two very productive players for one. Now, I know that this is a big fit thing for the New York Knicks, but at the end of the day, if you're just looking at it at face value, that's what it is. Emmanuel Quickley is a guy who is runner-up for Sixth Man of the Year this last year, currently in the running for it this year, so he's going to be a consistent 15 to 20 points for you off the bench, just a spark plug scoring-wise. RJ Barrett, still only 23 years old. Like I said, I know that he's not the best fit next to those two guys out there in Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, but still putting up close to a dub along those two guys on pretty decent efficiency. But even with that being said, I still feel like Knicks fans and the Knicks as an organization can still come out feeling pretty happy with this trade. A big reason being that Emmanuel Quickley's contract is expiring at the end of this season, and I'm not really sure what kind of money he would be worth. I know that NBA contracts are crazy nowadays, but, with his production, he's a guy that's probably going to ask for close to, like $25-28 million a year. Again, I know that NBA contracts are crazy, but that's probably what he's going to try to shoot for, as, he has been an electric guard for them off of the bench. But I don't think that the Knicks were willing to shell out that money, just because I don't know if you're confident in a backcourt of Jalen Brunson and Emmanuel Quickley, simply just because of the size. I feel like if you have an undersized backcourt like that, you need to be an explosive offense. And though Emmanuel Quickley is really solid offensively, I don't think that he packs enough of a punch for you to feel comfortable with running out that small of a backcourt. Now, with Emmanuel Quickley's contract, we're speaking in hypotheticals with what he could ask for this next year. But when it comes to RJ Barrett, he already inked a pretty big contract with the New York Knicks and was guaranteed a good amount of money for the next 4 years. Being he signed a 4-year, $107 million contract with them. And again, I just don't think that he was the best fit and was worth the money for the New York Knicks. And given they have a lot of wing depth, so there was times where this guy that's making $25 million wasn't even seeing the floor in clutch moments for the Knicks. Now, that's not going to happen with OG Anunoby. There's not a lineup that you can't slot him in with this New York Knicks team. Extremely versatile. Again, one of the best defensive players in the league, so they're going to have a big body to put on guys like, Jason Tatum, Giannis, all those big bodies out in the Eastern Conference. So I really like this trade for the Knicks, but I love this trade for OG Anunoby, as I feel like he's a guy that's kind of gone undercover in terms of like the love that he should be getting the past few years in Toronto. And now that he's going to be in a bigger market with the New York Knicks, his game is going to be a little bit more on display. So people are going to really see the impact that he has on a game-to-game basis. All in all, though, this still is kind of a risky trade for the Knicks, as OG is on the last year of his contract this season. So if he decides not to stay with the Knicks, it would be kind of messed up just to get, that half of his season rental for him, sending away your 23-year-old draft pick that you've seen, grow up in front of your eyes, as well as Emmanuel Quickley, a guy that you've also seen blossom into a star off of the bench. But I have no doubt that this New York Knicks team is going to see success for the rest of the season, as that big three out there with Julius Randle, OG Anunoby, and Jalen Brunson, no doubt is going to be scary to see in the Eastern Conference. On the flip side, though, I love this trade for the Toronto Raptors, as the market thing that I was speaking about goes both ways in this scenario, as now OG Anunoby is going to have a bigger light on his game. You're not going to have as much pressure on the back of RJ Barrett to perform in the Garden on a night-by-night basis. And, this is his home country, so they're going to be rooting for him a lot harder. They'll be a lot more patient with him out there. As well as getting Emmanuel Quickley, they're getting that guard play that they've been needing desperately. You know, the point Scotty experiment has been working really well. Scotty's having one of his best seasons as a pro, but you still need, you know, like that real guard if you want to be a successful team. Now, I don't think that the Toronto Raptors are going to be, you know, any sort of contenders in the East based off of this trade or anything. I would hope that they continue making moves and get Pascal out of there and really commit to rebuilding around Scotty. But this is a great first step for this team. But this trade still isn't all, you know, sunshine and rainbows for the Raptors, as they're still going to have to pay out that massive contract to RJ Barrett, that 4-year, $107 million. And if we're just being 100% honest, I like RJ Barrett as a player, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think that he's played up to the production of that contract. And on the other hand, you have Emmanuel Quickley, who we spoke about with the Knicks. They weren't sure if they wanted to pay him that contract, so I feel like that's a big reason why they moved him. And now that's in the ballpark of the Raptors. They're going to have to be the one to decide if they want to give him that money or not. Say that they decide to go on the lower end with Emmanuel Quickley, and I do feel like this will be a lower end for what he'll get. Say they give him $20 million. You have $20 million annually wrapped up in Emmanuel Quickley. You have $25+ million wrapped up in RJ Barrett yearly. That's $45 million dedicated to those two guys, which, you know, is a big chunk of your cap space. So you would really decide if that's the direction that you would want to go in the future for your team, or if, you know, you would want to move on from Emmanuel Quickley again. I would hate to see that happen to E-Man. You know, he's a great player, but I just don't know if he's a guy that the Raptors are going to be willing to give all that money to this offseason. Now, talking a little bit more on RJ Barrett, a guy who, again, is still only 23 years old, so hasn't reached his ceiling as an NBA player. But I feel like that's a big question for Knicks fans for the past few years, is what exactly is his ceiling? Just because, you know, he's a guy that was drafted top 3 in a very good draft. Guys were thought that he was going to come in and just be extremely NBA ready, average a dub right off the bat. And don't get me wrong, he's been extremely solid in his NBA career thus far, but he definitely has not lived up to expectation. But as I had mentioned before, he's definitely going to have a little bit of a longer leash out there in Toronto, as well as less spotlight on him. I feel like with this trade, it's the spark of a rebuild for the Toronto Raptors. So again, you'll have the young talent out there just doing what they can do. And who knows, maybe the change of scenery will be great for RJ Barrett. We'll see a version of him that we've never seen before, as well as for Emmanuel Quickley. Again, like I had mentioned before, they're getting really solid guard play out of Emmanuel Quickley, a really solid pickup in RJ Barrett, a guy who still, you know, don't know what his potential may be at 23 years old. And for the New York Knicks, I'm going to give this trade an A, just because I love when teams trade for fit, right? They're not going to go after the big name, you know, ones that's going to make a lot of headlines, and that's something that, you know, the Knicks have been trying to do for the past couple of years with trying to trade for Donovan Mitchell. And this does look really well for the New York Knicks if they do decide to make a Donovan Mitchell trade in the future. As I mentioned before, if you have an undersized backcourt, then you need to make up for it with explosive offense, which I feel like a backcourt of Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell would be insane offensively. But now that they have the bigger body with OG Anunoby to play defense, Julius Randle isn't a terrible defender. You, of course, have Mitchell Robinson, who's going to be back this next season. So just continue bolstering up that defense, and if you do somehow land on, it'll be an amazing team to watch. So let me know in the comments down below who you think won the trade. Again, I gave the Knicks an A. I gave the Raptors a B+. I think that the Raptors won the trade on paper. I know that sounds crazy after I gave the Knicks a better grade. But I just love seeing teams go out to make the trade for fit rather than go out to get a big name. As well as the Knicks are really genuinely, I feel, going to be able to compete for something off of this trade. The Raptors, not so much. This is just a start of a rebuild. A very good start to a rebuild at that, but nonetheless still a rebuild. And that is going to do it for me, y'all. I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video if you've made it this far. And if you did and you enjoyed what you watched, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. As always, drop a hashtag AskOTB in the comment section down below with any sort of question, hot take for a chance to be featured in one of these videos. I'm almost done with my top 10 rankings. I've got the point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward all done. I'll have the link to those videos down in the bio. Be sure to go and check them out. Again, thank you so much for watching. I'm about to get out of here. Peace.